And to be honest, I don't think this movie has earned the right to have campy, fun, levity moments when this is the same movie where an older brother beats his younger child while saying it's clobbering time. Like, what are we doing?
Hey, clobbering time.
So I was at the movies lately and I'm sitting there and the Fantastic Four trailer, the MCU's Fantastic Four trailer pops up and my friend's seen there and he starts laughing. He's like, do you remember how bad those old Fantastic Four movies were? And I kind of went, yeah, they weren't perfect, but I don't remember them being that bad. Were they really that bad? Because as a kid, I still had a bit of an eye for when a movie was really terrible and when it was kind of okay. I remember not hating them that bad. I remember not liking some of the X-Men movies a lot more. I remember even having more issues with Spider-Man 3 than I did some of these Fantastic Four movies, which is a matter of expectations, I will acknowledge. But I was like, were they really that bad? So I took it upon myself recently to rewatch Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Fan4stick, the Josh Trank 2015 reboot, and today I want to talk about them all. So let's just get straight into it. The first Fantastic Four movie. Guys, I straight up think this movie is actually not bad. I think it's a decent family film and kind of a pretty lame superhero film. I think if you are going in off the back of like the Sam Raimi sort of Spider-Man movies or X-Men 2, for example, if you're wanting a Fantastic Four that lives up to that, like a pretty gritty but also campy, fun superhero movie, you're not going to get that, all right? This is straight up a family movie with good character moments with really lame action, all right? I'm going to acknowledge the action is lame here. Put those expectations away. You're not getting good action in these movies. But in the first Fantastic Four, you do get a lot of fun character interactions. I think the characterizations here are excellent, all right? And before we get into it anymore, this is an abnormally attractive cast, all right? Like, you've got Jessica Alba, Johnny Storm, played by Chris Evans, in what looks like, to me, his physical peak. And also, you've got the guy playing Richard Reed, all right? And the reason I bring up how attractive this cast is because the whole movie, they're like, oh, Richard Reed, he's such a nerd. He's such a bumbling loser. Oh, he's such a shy guy nerd. And I'm like, dude looks like a fucking Abercrombie and Fitch model. It's insane to me how weirdly characterized Reed Richards is in this movie because they keep talking about how he's this nerdy guy and I genuinely don't find him that weird. If anything, because he's so good looking, he just kind of comes off as a bit of an aloof asshole, if that makes any sense. Like, he doesn't come off kind of sweet and naive and like, oh, he's such a goofball. He actually just comes off like a typical emotionally distant fuckboy. If anything, he comes out of the movie worse than Johnny Storm, because at least with Johnny Storm, you know what you're getting into. But aside from that, the other thing I want to say is Stan Lee said that Michael Chiklis's version, I believe that's his name, Michael Chiklis's version of The Thing is his favorite Marvel characterization in like live action at the time anyway. And I totally get what he's saying here. I absolutely fuck with The Thing in this movie. And I think The Thing and Johnny Storm are genuinely in a really good movie. All right. If the movie was just focusing on Johnny Storm and The Thing in these movies, I actually think you would have a great movie on your hands. The banter is funny and not just like MCU quippy banter where you're like, there's no way you'd say that in that situation. It's like good character humor, character rivalry between the two of them. Sometimes the jabs are hurtful and I enjoy all of it. I enjoy their fights. I enjoy their banter. I love it. I really think it's good. And I think Johnny Storm, I think Chris Evans as Johnny Storm is excellent. I was shocked to hear while looking into these movies for this video that people didn't like this casting. And look, maybe if you're a comics purist, there might be something I'm missing, but just watching this movie, I really thought Chris Evans was funny and quippy and just good. I enjoyed his presence. It was a nice breath of fresh air considering all his kind of like Boy Scouty vibes he's been bringing post kind of Captain America to other performances, not just Captain America. I thought he was really good here. But guys, Michael Chiklis is like the heart and soul of this first movie. Yes, does it make sense that his wife is showing up on the bridge to straight up divorce him? No, not really, all right? Given the circumstances, it's weird, right? She's probably sitting at home and she turned on the TV and she saw that Ben was doing a heroic thing, saving people on a bridge, and she like hightailed it down there just to dramatically put her ring on the bridge. It's absurd. Like, if you think about it for 2 seconds, it's silly. But I'm not going to lie to you. When this guy is trying to pick up his ring and he can't do it with his stubby rock fingers, my soul hurts a bit. It's actually a good character moment. Like, and that's the big thing with this movie is, yeah, the action's a little lame. You don't really get any good Fantastic Four action in this movie. But I do think the character stuff here is excellent. Again, I think the Thing's characterization is fantastic. I enjoy his journey in accepting his kind of rock form. I enjoy that it almost feels like an allegory for living with a disfigurement or a disability. Like there is a serious adjustment he has to make into how he kind of navigates the world. It's a power that feels like a deformity. It's something he needs to adjust to. People are horrified by him. His wife, for example, it might feel cartoonishly over the top, but I think it was really heartbreaking when this woman comes out and can't even look at him. Relentlessly cruel, and cruel in a good way. A moment I find genuinely moving and emotional. And I think him falling in love with this blind woman is actually kind of engaging and interesting to watch, and I find it sweet. I think him breaking the shot glasses and not being able to sit on the chair, all of this stuff really works. And even though I knock on the action of this movie, I actually think the fight he has with Doctor Doom, with the clearly real and not CGI water flooding the hallway, is actually not bad. Again, what you miss in like big action spectacle, you make up for in these nice, tangible, practical moments. That's one of my favorite things about this first movie is, say what you will about it, but the Thing feels like a real character in a real environment, interacting with real objects. Same with Chris Evans and same with Reed Richards, except for the awful, stretchy CGI. And I think the thing is, I don't even think we've nailed it now. Looking at the trailer for Fantastic Four First Steps and even Josh Trank's Fan Four Stick, I think it's really hard to make these stretchy man CGI effects look good. I think maybe it's just our brain. It's always going to look Uncanny Valley because we know limbs don't move like that. But I don't know. Maybe we just can't get it right, or maybe Marvel in its current age is being a bit lazy. But I don't think they look particularly good in this new movie. But I will acknowledge that they look particularly bad in this movie. But again, I like all the stuff here. I like all the character beats. I like the Thing talking down a man on the verge of self-deletion off a bridge. Like all of this stuff I find really endearing and sweet. And now we need to address the two characterizations I don't think are perfect. I think Victor Von Doom is fantastic. I think the late Julian McMullen, rest in peace, I'm actually genuinely so upset. Like I thought his characterization in Nip Tuck as Christian Troy is an all-timer for TV. So very sad to hear that news. I think his take on Doctor Doom is actually really good when he's the person. Now, yes, when he gets his powers, it's a little over the top and probably not particularly comic accurate, but I enjoy his performance. I think he's properly sinister and campy and clearly just very jealous of Reed and Sue. I think where the casting gets a little complicated is, as I mentioned before, I think either the writing or the performance just isn't working with Reed Richards. He doesn't come off likable in the slightest. He comes off distant and strange and not compelling and not like a likable nerd or anything. He's a nothing character. I can't tell you anything about him. He gets barely any dialogue and he almost feels like he's there just because you need to have him there. And with Sue Storm, played by Jessica Alba, I think she's doing her best, and I will have to grant the movie credit. Everyone talks about how objectified she is in this movie, and to be fair, I guess to extend them some olive branch, they are also similarly objectifying Chris Evans to an extent. Like he is also shirtless as much as possible and is always losing his clothes as well. But with Jessica Alba, you can feel the script really turn its cogs to make sure we can get her naked as much as possible. But also, at least with Johnny Storm, it's kind of a quick gag and we move on. But with Sue, it needs to be discussed ad nauseum. Like all the characters like, oh my God, she's naked. And Johnny Storm's like, oh my God, I'm going to need therapy for this. Whoa. And like the camera does enjoy holding on it. And on one end, I can deal with the humor in this situation to an extent, right? I can be like, okay, like I get the joke of like, oh, she has to get naked and men are going to ogle her, whatever, right? Like that's going to happen fine. But where it starts to feel seedier is, again, how long it lingers, but also the fact that you find out that they only wrote these scenes when they were able to cast Jessica Alba. So they got Jessica Alba and then they were like, oh, we need to include more scenes of when she's naked. So it's not just like one or two where it's like a little bit of a like funny gag of like, oh shit, like I have no clothes. Oh, that's a bit of a learning curve. They consistently write in multiple scenes where it's just like, is this really necessary? What are we doing here? And then all the men have to comment on it and be like all hot and bothered. And it's just a bit strange, especially knowing that trivia about the writers. And it gets even worse. Apparently in Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, when Jessica Alba is meant to be crying, they said, no, don't cry too convincingly. You don't look good. All right. You don't look as hot. So we're going to get you to like phone it in and then we'll CGI the tears later. But all this to be said, I actually think she is a good actress here. I think there are moments where a good performance shines through. I think they've just written her terribly poorly. Like, I think she is just written with the male gaze in mind and has nothing to do. And again, I can deal with the kind of like naked jokes. I'm not too pearl clutchy. It's the fact that you have all the naked jokes combined with a paper thin characterization where she has no motivation, no autonomy or agency aside from being in love with Reed, whose personality feels like the embodiment of like hanging out at a nursing home. Like, it's just no fun and you want to go home. So all in all, the first movie, you're really missing out on action. But I love all the little character moments. You've got incredible performances for Johnny Storm, The Thing, Doctor Doom, pretty good for Jessica Alba, and a pretty lame performance for Reed Richards in my opinion. But all in all, it comes out to like a 6 out of 10. Like, it's actually kind of fun. The issue is The Incredibles came out, was a better family movie for families at home, also portrayed a better superhero family dynamic in The Incredibles compared to the Fantastic Four. But on top of that, it also has incredible action, not just for like an animated movie, not just for a kids movie. The Incredibles 1 has incredible fucking action. And you compare it to the Fantastic Four, where most of the characters are one-to-one parallels, and it just doesn't stack up in the slightest. But I do appreciate the physical kind of shot on real locations, tangibility. And I do enjoy some of the power displays when they're used in their personal lives. Cute little ideas like that. And I enjoy the journey of The Thing being cured only for him to double back and become his rock self and like embrace it. I actually think it kind of worked. Hey guys, just brief intermission. If you're enjoying this video, please consider gaining a membership to this channel. Every fortnight, I do a podcast talk about every single show and movie I've watched in that fortnight. So you get in-depth thoughts on everything I've watched. It's the price of a cup of coffee. Please consider it, and back to the video. Thank you. Now moving on, let's talk about Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer. The main crux of this plot is that Reed and Sue are going to get married, and the Silver Surfer essentially disrupts that, right? So Silver Surfer shows up. Let's just get into it, all right? I think the Silver Surfer still looks incredible. And I'm going to struggle to explain this, so hopefully some of you get what I mean, but we are so used to huge alien spectacle where we're just kind of like shrugging our shoulders at this. But the thing I like about the Silver Surfer in this movie is it genuinely feels alien. And I think it's a combination of a bunch of things working. But when the Silver Surfer shows up, you've got this godly music, like this choral music playing. That's number one thing that I like. The Lawrence Fishburne voice and how ethereal it sounds also really helps. I think the effects look fantastic. And there's also a lot of character reactions. They are witnessing something they cannot explain. Like, they are horrified and cannot explain the Silver Surfer. And I think Johnny Storm's first interaction with the Silver Surfer is excellent. Genuinely, in my opinion, a great superhero action scene. Him flying around. We didn't really get much of the flame on action in the first one, but we get to see him really zoom around, catch up to the Silver Surfer. And I love that the Silver Surfer is low-key kind of hiding his power level. You have him fly through the New York Empire State Building, incredibly cool visual. You have him flying down the building with all the pieces flying off, very cool. You have him flying through the bus, great moment, falling through, like all of it was really well thought out. And I love the moment where he chokeholds Johnny Storm, brings him up into space, something that Johnny hasn't spent too much time doing. And it's just cool. Like, you get a sense of like, this is a character in Johnny Storm out of his depth, right? This is playing with gods now. And it's cool. I genuinely think it's cool. While I'm talking about this feeling of you're playing with gods, you're a mere mortal, there's this moment towards the end where Johnny Storm offers to team up with the Silver Surfer and help him take down Galactus, and he's holding onto the back of the board like a kid that wants to be taken to work with his dad or something, right? Like, Johnny Storm's sitting there like, can I come with too? And then he sees this like insane visual of this planet eater while he's passing out. He's like, what is that? And it's a little moment. It's a small, tiny moment that I wish we lent into more in any superhero movie. Like, you see it in the first Avengers when Iron Man is confronted with the vision of the alien army, but just a small moment of like, oh my God, what am I witnessing here? I'm completely out of my depth. It's a really, really good moment in a strange, pretty clunky film, you know? Where the movie fumbles slightly is, yes, I know comic purists hate the fact that Galactus is a boring giant planet, all right? That it's displayed through the Silver Surfer's ripped abs. Like, I totally get it. If you're a comic book fan, this is a bit underwhelming. What I will say is I think the visual of the planet eating Earth and like kind of like shooting its tentacles into the holes that the Silver Surfer's made is a lot more visually appealing than a lot of MCU giant laser beams in the skies that we've been getting for the past decade. Like, yes, it's a disappointing portrayal of Galactus. I fully validate you guys. But at the same time, I think in terms of this big, giant, loud end of the world, in terms of this big, giant, loud end of the world thing, it's actually not bad. Now, again, with this movie, we have more great character banter and character interactions. A lot of them. There's a great one where Johnny Storm is riffing on how the Thing and his girlfriend would, knock boots.
That's none of your business.
Okay, all right. I'm just concerned. I'd hate to wake up one morning and find out she was killed in a rock slide.
I'll show you a rock slide.
I love this physical comedy moment from Chris Evans where he goes like, or whatever it is, describing sex. It's just a good little moment that's been lingered in my brain.
How do you guys,
You get some fun power switching stuff. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief in movies, right? For example, I watched The Truman Show recently. It's pretty insane, that premise, right? But I go, okay, for the movie you're telling, fine, let's go with it, right? But at this point in Fantastic Four 2, when they just go, oh yeah, I guess Johnny can somehow switch powers and consume all our powers if we all put our hands together and go cheers, is a bit, it's a bit silly. But you get fun stuff. You got Johnny Storm in Thing mode. He becomes the Rockman. And again, I think the practical suit looks absolutely fantastic here. You get Michael Chiklis back, throwing fireballs at him. All of it's really fun. Now you get Doctor Doom back. On one end, I love the actor that plays Doctor Doom. I love them interacting. I love Doctor Doom working with the Fantastic Four and kind of taking pot shots at Sue and Reed. I love the wedding scene where it doesn't go well. All of this stuff is really good. However, where I think the movie falls apart is in the back end. I think the climax is lame. I think the action is a bit whatever. It's kind of cool when Johnny Storm gets all of their powers, and I appreciate all of them sitting around, but I truthfully just check out in the last half of this movie. I think the first half is actually off to a good start. You get great humor, great character interaction. I love the moment where I actually like the moment where Reed Richards is dancing with the girls. I like it. I don't know what to tell you. It's silly and stupid, but I was laughing the whole time. And whether that was intentional or not, who knows? I love when Sue accidentally switches powers with Johnny and gets on fire. We get an obligatory naked gag joke where for some reason she hasn't realized she's naked. She's sitting there, cheeks out, elbows out, and for some reason doesn't feel the breeze. Like someone has to tell her and all the people are taking photos. That's the type of gag that I don't like. You know what I mean? If she's going to end up naked, fine. She goes, oh my God, I'm naked, and runs off and turns invisible. But this idea that she's going to sit there for 20 seconds just being like, I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Sue, your clothes.
Why does this always happen to me?
The thing here is at a certain point, the action just becomes a bit dull and stale and whatever. And I think there's a serious sense of energy and momentum in the first half of The Rise of the Silver Surfer that is lost towards the end. But overall, I think critics were too harsh on both of these movies. I think the general population is slightly too harsh on both of these movies. I will be surprised if I enjoy the family banter and dynamics in this new MCU version as much as I enjoy them here. I don't think there's perfect movies, but in terms of the character interplay, particularly with Johnny and the Thing, it'll be hard to beat. And I mean that earnestly. And I think you need to listen to Stan Lee when he says that the Thing is one of the best on-film portrayals of a character. I think he's onto something, or was onto something. Now, let's talk about Josh Trank's Fan 4 stick, because this is a colossal, steaming piece of shit.
Come a long way since the garage.
Gotta say, it's fantastic.
Say that again?
It's fantastic.
Guys, I got it. Ready? Yeah.
First off, I actually like the idea of a David Cronenberg take on the Fantastic Four. I actually think that's a cool idea. I've seen so many people be like, what were they thinking? Of course this wasn't going to be... No, I think that's awesome. Like, lean into the horror of like your limbs stretching out and catching on fire and turning invisible. I think that would have been awesome if we fucking saw it. All right, the whole issue here was Josh Trank was beefing with the studio because he wanted to make his body horror movie and they wanted to make a traditional superhero fun movie, and we got neither, So instead you just get the stuff that fits in between, and the stuff that fits in between is boring as fuck. I am so sorry. Like, the opening intro here is just full of stuff where it's like, I get what you're going for, but what the fuck are we doing? You have this opening intro where Reed Richards as a young child is literally telling a class of students like, yo, I'm working on a design for like a flying car or something. Also, I'm trying to figure out teleportation. I haven't quite got there yet, but I'm getting there. And the teacher's dead ass just like, yo, shut up. Stop talking make-believe. Doesn't even show any sense of curiosity. Like, let's say the kid was fully bullshitting. You'd at least be like, oh, he's showing an intense interest in this stuff. Like, how fascinating. And look, I know some teachers suck. I don't know if I can believe that a teacher would suck this bad and still be employed. And what's even funnier is later on, there's this like science fair section, right? And the Thing and Reed Richards, who by the way, look about 5 or 10 years older than I do right now, are in high school apparently. They're like 17 or 18, and they literally teleport something into like another dimension. They teleport someone's paper plane, and while they're doing that, it explodes like a basketball ring, all right? And the plane comes back a bit burnt, and the basketball ring explodes. And this teacher, the same teacher, is like, excuse me, this was meant to be a science fair, not a magic show. I'm like, yo, did you just see what I saw? That is insane science. What are you doing, mate? Anyways, moving on from the teacher, the big issue with this movie is it's just dull. It's just fucking dull. You're sitting there and you can see what they're trying to do, you know? Reed Richards sits down with Sue Storm and she's like, I'm a numbers person. I like care about numbers and patterns, and like I see patterns in things, and like that's how I figure out my stuff. And he's like, oh, okay, like so like do you like music? And she's like, I like music because there's patterns in music. And he's like, oh, I wonder if you like the patterns I like, or whatever. Like, it's literally, you're sitting there with your brain melting, being like, what on earth am I watching? And the thing is here, there are moments where the movie actually leans into good quality stuff, you know? The body horror that's here for literally 30 seconds is kind of neat, but we get 30 seconds of it. Then we jump a year later, so we don't get any of the fun body horror stuff, but we also don't get the fun resolution of them learning to control their powers. Now we're on to the idea that Thing is like used as a military weapon. Also an interesting idea. But we just see that on like a fucking projector to the military for like 4 seconds. And then the guy's just like, you like that? We've got 3 more of those metahumans back home. And the military is like, hoorah, let's go. And it's like, what are we doing? Why can't we see the Thing action scenes? What do we do? Like, even make it dark and fucked up. You know, maybe he doesn't know his strength and he accidentally kills too many people. I'm down for a dark take, but give me something. But we get nothing. Now, I will say, again, there's a kind of okay Doctor Doom in here. It's the guy from The Entire History of You, that really great Black Mirror episode. But I enjoy the setup here that he's really jealous of Reed and Sue and really trying to get in between them. You've also got Michael B. Jordan. And I think Michael B. Jordan is a fantastic actor. This isn't a hot take. He was incredible in Fruitvale Station, fantastic in Sinners. Both of him in Sinners are fantastic. But here, I think it's writing, because he is a good actor, but oh my God, the writing for him is painful, really bad, really dull. I don't know what they're trying to do with this characterization. He feels like a dumb juvenile, like a Bart Simpson type, but then they're also telling us he's a genius. I couldn't get a feel of what he wants, what he doesn't want. One minute he's like, I just want to be alone and drive my cars, and then the next minute he's really passionate about science. I do enjoy the idea that the Fantastic Four get their powers on a drunk whim. I've seen people complain about this. I actually think there's a cool idea here. Again, if we got the body horror type idea, because, you know, if you've seen The Fly, the whole plot of The Fly kicks into motion because he's jealous of a girlfriend and, you know, drinks and like rushes this experiment and things go wrong. So I like the idea that they make a drunken mistake, essentially. I also like the idea that they were kind of cruel to Doctor Doom. I think the rivalry and the motivations are set up here pretty well. They leave him there to die, essentially, so he gathers all this aura and power while he's in the dimension, from what I understand, because the movie's pretty shaky in its delivery. And then he comes back with a beef. And you know what? Yes, again, not a comic accurate portrayal, but I like that he's horrifying. He's like a god. He can just pop heads and explode people. But the tonality here is really what kills this movie. You can feel the studio breathing down Josh Trank's neck. And they clearly cut out all the interesting body horror stuff, all the interesting ideas you could have taken this. And instead we're like, no, we're going to force in MCU jokes for no good reason. So every 5 minutes, you'll have this dull, dour, depressing tone in this completely washed out movie, and then you'll have moments like at the end of the movie where it's like, yeah, you know, it's fantastic. Say that again. Fantastic. Guys, I got it. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? On top of that, the action towards the end is insane. Like, actually insane. It's just incomprehensible and stupid. You have them bubbling up in a bubble. We've seen no real display of what Sue can and can't do, so this isn't cool or exciting.
It's clobber time!
We get one action scene that I thought was okay, where Stretchy Man, Reed Richards, is briefly fighting off military people. I thought this could have been a cool scene. It looked like real people on a real set with real guns. Again, the stretchiness is hard to get right. But the scene at the end where Reed is like, fighting Doctor Doom, it's like, I don't care about Reed. I don't care about Doctor Doom. I don't care about the dimension. I just don't care about anything. Like, the movie just doesn't work. And to be honest, I don't think this movie has earned the right to have campy, fun, levity moments when this is the same movie where an older brother beats his younger child while saying it's clobbering time. Like, what are we doing?
Hey, clobbering time.
You have Sue saying, ooh, Dr. Doom over here, when Victor says something like vaguely nihilistic. There's also this line where a military guy says to the dad of the Fantastic Four, they're extremely powerful, which means they're very valuable to the government right now. There's also this scene where Reed Richards stretches and contorts his face using his stretchy powers to look like a different guy, but he also makes himself look like a bit of a different race. Like, he went from white guy Miles Teller to a Hispanic looking dude. And one, I'm going to call this guy out for casual racism, but two, is that part of his power set? Like, low-key just changing into different races? Like, am I missing something? Was that in the comics? Let me know. Anyways, all in all, first two Fantastic Four movies, 6 out of 10. Josh Trank's one, 2 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. I will do a review of Fantastic Four First Steps when it comes out. Thank you. Subscribe, like, and comment, and have a lovely day. Brief intermission. If you're enjoying this video, please consider gaining a membership to this channel. Every fortnight, I do a podcast talk about every single show and movie I've watched in that fortnight, so you get in-depth thoughts on everything I've watched. It's the price of a cup of coffee. Please consider it, and back to the video. Thank you.